at 11, we're following breaking news of a brush fire that broke out near Multnomah Falls. Right now, the right eastbound lane of I-84 is closed to give firefighters room to work. Crews are reporting downed power lines in the area that are making it harder to attack part of the fire. The sheriff's office says there are no immediate threats to the public at this point. We'll keep monitoring it. Meanwhile, parents are pushing for answers as more and more kids are forced to quarantine and learn from home. In the most extreme cases, 2 whole schools had to shut down this week: Reynolds High School in Troutdale and John Wetton Elementary in Gladstone. Now, thousands of students are back in remote learning next week. School officials say it's not because of a large number of positive cases, but because so many students were possibly exposed to those positive cases. Throughout the Portland Public School District, a couple hundred students are quarantined right now. Some parents are worried their schools could shut down as well. Catherine Cook looked into what could trigger that change.
I hope that PPS will be able to, be a little bit more transparent about what their plan is.
Dunaway parent Kayla Gulbranson has 2 kids in Portland Public Schools. The plan she's waiting on is how and when the district would educate kids should they need to quarantine at home. Kayla is not alone.
There's nothing in place, and that is so frustrating to me. We have been doing this for so long.
At this week's school board meeting, parents sounded off. Jeff Oswald wanted more for his 5th grade son, who had to quarantine for 10 days after a classmate tested positive.
I was told that he's not going to miss much, so don't worry about it. No one wants to hear that from an educator. I'll be honest, that pissed me off. Straight up pissed me off.
There was a lot of frustration. Catherine Henderson is a PPS teacher and parent.
Took 3 days. I managed to keep my family safe from COVID for a year and a half, but it only took 3 days for my son to come home from school and bring COVID into our home.
Henderson says she was told her 3rd grade son followed all the rules, wore a mask, and kept 3 feet of distance.
There's so much we still don't know about this virus. The precautions in school are not enough to keep our children safe. The few days I spent in my classroom, I was constantly reminding my students to put their mask over their noses and keep a 3 feet distance. These are children.
So what is Portland Public Schools' plan if they need to switch a whole school to distance learning, and what would trigger it? A PPS spokesperson tells KGW they're working with county health officials on that, saying, if guidance recommended we suspend in-person learning, we are prepared to move students or classrooms into comprehensive distance learning temporarily as directed by our health partners. So we asked those county health officials, at what point would that happen? A spokesperson shared this with us, saying, there is no simple metric by which we would recommend suspending in-person learning. We are monitoring districts carefully, working with superintendents and the Multnomah Education Service District, and we will be learning as we go. We will know more about how the disease is spreading and the level of action needed to control spread so students can stay in school.
Because it's inevitable. Kids are going to miss school. There's no vaccinations for the elementary level. I'll be shocked if they're still there by Halloween.
Another issue, lack of assigned seating on buses. While the district says they are now creating seating charts, they weren't there in time to prevent a large quarantine at Dunaway. Kayla, who is Dunaway's PTA president, says a student riding a bus tested positive. With no way to contact trace, it forced 40 students to stay home.
We've pulled them from the bus just because we don't want to risk that possibility. It's not fair to those grade school kids that now are stuck at home for 10 days doing nothing.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Man, you feel for those families. Now let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. A former Tigard police officer will not be charged for shooting and killing a man earlier this year. The Oregon Department of Justice investigated, and a grand jury decided the officer shouldn't face charges for shooting Jacob McDuff back in January. Officers were trying to arrest him for domestic harassment, and authorities say the officer shot him when McDuff refused to drop a knife. A mayoral candidate was arrested for domestic violence. Derek Ford is running for mayor of Washougal. Yesterday, police arrested him for 4th-degree assault. His wife reported that he physically attacked her during a fight, something Ford denies. A break-in at Portland's Southeast Health Center may have compromised 700 people's personal information. Someone broke into the building on 34th Avenue last month while it was under construction. Multnomah County officials are notifying people if their information may have been compromised. They're offering free identity theft protection, and so far, there is no evidence the information has been misused. We're covering shootings almost nightly now. Tonight, detectives are investigating yet another one in Portland. We're told a child was hurt. This comes the same day a Clackamas County woman pleads for answers in the death of her brother. As Mike Benner reports, he was gunned down last year right as all the violence was ramping up.
Yeah, it's been hard.
In Southeast Portland Thursday night, Crystal Major builds a small memorial to honor her brother on what would have been his 32nd birthday.
He was funny. He was a jokester. He was caring. He gave to everybody.
It makes what happened on November 7th of last year all the more awful. Harold Major was shot and killed not far from the corner of Southeast 33rd and Powell, where he was living in a tent. Detectives believe Harold was the victim of a drive-by shooting that he was in no way connected to.
He wasn't the target. And so it's just another life that's gone for nothing.
The shooting that took Harold's life was one of 891 shootings in Portland in 2020. And unfortunately, the gunfire hasn't stopped. It's only gotten worse. With more than 3 months to go in 2021, there have already been more than 870 shootings in Portland. One of the most recent coming Thursday afternoon near Northeast 82nd and Sandy. We're told a child and an adult were injured. They're expected to survive.
Nobody's taking the time to understand that we have to come together as a community and stop this now before it gets even worse.
That's for another day. This night is about Harold. He's missed more than words can describe. Crystal will tell you not much will bring her peace, though tracking down the shooter would certainly be a start.
From the beginning, I told myself that if they ever did find who did it, I would forgive him. And the reason why is because Harold would have forgave him.
Crime Stoppers is offering a cash reward of up to $2,500 for information that leads to Harold Major's killer. And remember, tipsters can remain anonymous. Reporting in Southeast Portland, I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
Back on the pandemic front, there's some promising news for Oregon. Deaths and hospitalizations are finally dropping. But doctors are also seeing more young people getting seriously sick and dying from the virus. Pat Doris got an update from health officials today.
At Salem Hospital, 96 patients have COVID. Of those, 21 are in the intensive care unit and 10 are on ventilators. Doctors like Marty Johnson, the ICU medical director, say the battle is far from over.
So it's about the same, maybe a little bit less than it was a week ago, but still way above our normal.
The hospital is caring for and sometimes losing COVID patients now that are younger than in earlier surges. September 14th, a 47-year-old died here from COVID. The day before that, a 24-year-old died. And the day before that, a 33-year-old died. It's brutal for everyone.
Oh, it's horrible. We've actually lost a 20-year-old as well at one point. Those patients, since they're relatively young, and lots of times don't have a lot of chronic, morbid conditions. Unfortunately, they tend to linger and battle longer in the ICU and on respiratory support.
He said nearly all those dying are not vaccinated, and many of the younger patients have other medical conditions that make them more vulnerable to the Delta variant. They also often are connected to young families.
We're dealing with oftentimes families that are more desperate. We're dealing oftentimes with very young children involved with the family. So it's very hard on the staff, very hard on everybody involved.
Despite that, there are glimmers of hope statewide. For the week of September 6th through the 12th, the Oregon Health Authority reports 12,997 new cases. That's a bunch, but it's down 11% from the week before. 592 people were hospitalized with COVID during that time, also down from more than 1,000 the prior week. And 120 people died, but the week before, the virus killed 171 in Oregon. All of it an improvement, and all of it still gut-wrenching for everyone, including the state epidemiologist, Dr. Dean Seidlinger.
Every morning, I sit with the new data from the day before. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I get angry because much of the disease we're seeing now is preventable, and I wonder, what could I have done to reach even more even one more person to get vaccinated and take steps to protect themselves.
Pat Doris, KGW News.
Yeah, harrowing words. In Idaho, the COVID situation is so bad, the entire state is rationing health care. The Idaho Department of Health and Welfare made the announcement this morning amid a massive surge in hospitalized COVID patients. Crisis standards of care are now in effect statewide. That means scarce resources like ICU beds are given to patients most likely to survive. Patients with worse odds are treated with less effective methods.